In this video, we're going to look at how we can customize and work with tables in Excel. In the previous video, we helped Sarah create this table, but she doesn't actually want the blue stripes, and manually changing it could take a lot of time. Fortunately, working with tables, it's really straightforward. We're going to click somewhere into our table, and in the ribbon, the table design ribbon comes up. So I'm going to click on that. And on the far right, we see a gallery of table designs. If you hover over that gallery, you will see a live preview. So we haven't actually selected it. We've just hovered to get even more options. We click the More button, which is the drop-down on the far right-hand corner, and there's quite a lot to choose from. So take a moment to hover over the different options and find one you like and click to select. I'm going to go for Blue Table Style Medium 16. So we can see how quick it is to make a massive change to the formatting in our workbook. But there's even more we can do. Use the table styles options to the left of the table styles. So let's say we didn't want the alternating colored rows. Excel calls these banded rows, and we can simply select it. We could instead turn on banded columns for alternating colored columns. We can also make our first column stand out. This will vary depending on which style you've chosen, but very often that has the main or unique identifier for that row. So that's quite useful. And you can make your last column stand out as well, which is great if you've got a subtotal. In this case, we don't want it, so we're going to unselect it. But the best option in this group is the total row. Can you find the total row checkbox and just put a little tick in it? And what that has done is add a total row at the bottom of our data and sum up the furthest right numeric column, which is great. So I've got my total late charge, but actually I'd really like my total invoice amount. So we're going to click into the total row under the amount column, and we're going to click the drop down, and we're going to choose sum. And sum isn't the only function we can use. So let's say we'd actually wanted to see an average late charge. If I come to my drop down, I could choose an average. And if I wanted to count how many rows there were in the table, it doesn't really matter which column I choose. I'm going to go for payment number, click the drop down, and choose count. What's really great about the total row is when we need to add new data to the bottom of the table, we just turn it off, pop on your data in, and then we turn it back on. It will appear underneath the new data and include those new values. So making it much easier to work with our data. Another feature you may not have noticed is we are down a row 89. And yet when I said clicking the payment number or the due date, you've had no problem identifying the column. What we would normally see if I click out of the table is the column letters. But because we've got a table, we actually get the column headings. So another great little feature. Let's go back up to the top of our table. So I'm going to use the keyboard shortcut Control Up arrow. Another feature the table offers us is the ability to more easily select the data within the table. So up to now, when we need to select a column of data, we've been doing Control-Shift down arrow. But within the table, you don't need to. So let's say I wanted to select the column purchase order number. I'm not going to click into the H because that will select the whole worksheet column, and I just want the table column. So I'm going to come to just on that purchase order number, and I get a tiny black arrow. And when I single click, it selects all the data. And if I click again, it includes the heading. If I now wanted to change my table and move the purchase order column to before the bank details column, it's much easier than with the normal range. Having selected the purchase order column, all I need to do is come to the edge, ensure I've got the 4-arrow move icon, and drag and drop it in before the bank details column. I have now swapped the columns without the need for copy-paste and without impacting the rest of my workbook. And when it comes to selecting table rows, it's just as easy. So for example, if I want to delete a few table rows and I didn't want to impact anything to the right of my table, I come just into the table and again get that small black arrow, one click selects just one table row, And if I click and drag, I can select multiple table rows. So we've seen how we can use our styles on the table design ribbon to format our table, and we can customize those formats using our table style options. And then we saw how we could more easily select data and maybe move columns or delete rows by selecting either at the top of the table column or to the left of the table row. In the next video, we'll have a look at how easy it is to sort and filter data in a table.